All right. So, yeah, definitely working with betrayal, and when something that feels like it's betraying to us, it makes us feel like there's something wrong with us. And so we can't really change how other people um, act or the things that they do to us, because like in that workshop of Love Stinks, it talks about how each person has their capacity and has the scarring and the way that they handle relationships that they carry with them. And so many times there's something going on about themselves that causes them to betray us, but it's a lack of their understanding, working with their own nervous system and going into overwhelm, and the runners who don't want to face anything and just kind of zip off on you and things like, but we're left standing, and it's just like it's heartbreaking, breaking, and wondering what's wrong with me. And so from this emotional wellness perspective, in everything that we've looked at, there, like the blame game and different things like that, where you think it's going to be directed toward what somebody did towards you, but it a lot of times it takes the person who had the ill action and breaks down what may have been happening in their nervous system, or how they handle the things that are coming at them. And so it makes us humanize the betrayer of the situation too. And then so it takes the two parts of it, the betrayer and their actions, and then the betrayed and our actions and how we take that in, right? And it takes those two parts and it works toward working with nervous systems on both. But it's also the same thing about like having a story that we're operating from something that was horrible that happened to us a long time ago, and just say like a parent, okay, and you had this childhood that was difficult, and then you're here and you're going, but I just want to know why, or I want to, and then so what the nervous this is doing so that we can fully understand it is to humanize the 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 parent who may have carried like bad coping skills, but doing the best that they could at the time, and just seeing that. So that's where when I put these workshops together, I'm looking at both sides. And just like we just did recently, the Alzheimer's, a disease process, but it's not just about the caretaker burnout, but it's like remembering that person who has developed the disease, who can no longer do what take care of themselves. They are no longer, you know what I mean? So we look at how their lives have changed and the capacity that they have at the time, and then we take how we have to interface and we have to take care of that regardless, and the difficulty in that. And there's a certain mourning, and all of this, there's a certain loss of the way things were, and there has to be a certain willingness for us to remove ourselves and to do something different and create new patterns. Is this do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that I like to keep what I call the bilateral, looking at it from the two sides and then bringing it in and combining it down the road so that there's an understanding of both sides. In the yogic sense, it's a uniting rather than dividing things. And then when we divide, then we proliferate the victimness of it. And the thing with nervous system healing is that if we want to stay in the victimness of it, then we can't heal in the nervous system and learn, new ways to work with our nervous system.
Correct.
So, in for this, how it's been created and worked through has been from that lens, and then finding the science that supported it, the documentation, what the, percentage rate of this or that, and putting that in there. So that then becomes the normalizing of the situation that has happened, that each individual who's had something traumatic happen or a bad story happens, tends to feel like it's a special situation. It's different, and it is,
Mhm.
but at the same time, our nervous systems that get, depending on age and all of that, our nervous systems kind of biologically get affected in a certain way, which makes it easier to work with in this way, understanding what the nervous system is lacking and what it's needing, where it's chemically overloaded, and where we could offset that for a homeostasis in our biology. And then it allows us to venture out into new places. So with that,
Yeah. So Michelle, what I'm hearing is that you, for workshop purposes, and I've seen you do this, it's like you're saying you're presenting both sides of the same argument. Is that what you're saying? Like trying to
I,
see
I
both sides?
yeah, because if they can see both sides, then you can remove the victim.
Wow.
Right.
That's
Or you
very,
can,
very interesting
or you
There's
can
because
have
the
compassion for the suffering, right? Of
for the
that
betrayer,
from
like,
both, yeah, for both people. I
well,
mean,
if
it's
we
hard to
if
think
we
of the person that abandoned us to have compassion for the abandoner.
yeah,
But if you understand, like, where are ways that maybe I have abandoned myself or I have abandoned others. So it's like, I feel like when Michelle presents these with two lenses, it's not that I go into a blame game. It's just like, oh, I see I have those traits too. I see that I'm like that too. Doesn't
it
mean that
it,
I'm going
it
to go into
really
some shame spiral or something. It helps me first have compassion for myself. And secondly, and I mean, who hasn't been abandoned in their life? Like line forms to the
yeah.
right. It's
yeah,
like, do I want to live my life in resentment, which I did for many, many years over the
Mhm.
abandonment of like a father, for fucking 54 years.
that's
So if there was a way that I could have been able to somehow, even in my own pain, see both sides, I think maybe
Yeah,
it would have been
because
helpful.
it could
I don't know.
answer the, I we always want to know why, why. And the thing is like they didn't have any other skills that it could have been, passed down how they were parented, how, so in their minds, they've done the best that they could do, even though it was lacking. And we as parents, we make mistakes with our kids, and that's just the way it goes. We make different mistakes because if we're conscious and we don't want to hurt them in that way, but it's, you know what I mean, it's like we're just doing the best. We don't know until we know. And then also, when you see that, you can
Well, my
humanize,
question
and,
is
and you
like
could
from a
say,
workshop standpoint, is that how you recommend that we should present our, or
like you
any,
could,
it's just
you
a
can,
way.
it's how it's developed for me,
Okay.
but it doesn't mean that it needs to be that way for you. But it's helped me put these things together where I come at it, and then
But doesn't that
because
help with relatability too? It helps like with the workshop, it helps it be a little bit more relatable if you're presenting both sides of this. I'm just trying to think
yeah,
of like how can I
it's
work this into a
it's
workshop
it
from
it has helped me forgive myself for my lack of parenting skills at where I messed up. Because I know I did the best that I could, and I
right.
don't, you know what I mean? But someday my kid's going to be in therapy for this, you know,
Well,
and you know what I mean? But we're so pissed at our parents
Yeah.
But what if we saw it from like how we wanted our kids to eventually forgive us because in your heart of hearts, you gave it the best shot, right? So that releases a lot of anger that could go toward healing.
Mm.
And so that's what I'm looking for. I'm really looking for where a person can come in and then they can release something, the story about it all, and just move from where we are at this point. Um, but it's not perfected yet, but it's definitely gotten getting more precise in that way where it could speak to that. And when I look back on it, that's what I'm seeing is that there's two sides that are presented. So and I've realized that the reason why is because it removes the victim of us, because the victimhood is one of the places where we could really get stuck. And by being a victim, we can then excuse ourselves from having to do the work to heal. And so if we just could move beyond the story, then we can get to living life in the moment now. But if we're stuck in the past, we can't be in the present now. And that's why those orienting skills are so good, because that's like micro training of what it's like to be in the present moment now. And so I'm just thinking about the college students, but how I tie yoga in, because I feel like yoga was how I could understand things. And I, spent all these years studying yoga and then, living life. But when I remember some of the stories. It's like for me, story time was my favorite. When Sharon Gannon or, David would, do story time, they used mythology. And that was just, I was just like, right there and listening. And then I remember the stories that they did, but the stories of the mythology can be turned into where it's not the shame game. It's of what, somebody else did. You get to look at mythology. So it's not, necessarily happened. It's not pointing at you did this or I did that. And it's taking a story and weaving in the lesson of what you would like to tell them directly, but it would be taken too personally. So I remember these stories, and so I go back, and so I wrote down some of the mythology for your notebooks, and that's what that handout is about. It's like about how I can pull some of these really important lessons from our yoga training, that it was another thing to read, it was another thing to check mark off for your training, for your certificate. But like the onion that yoga is, the layers that keep showing up, there's some really deep lessons that are weaved into this. So just think about it just for a moment. If we can pull back and we can look at how we've tied the polyvagal theory into what we did with the single pointedness and the meditation and moving pratyahara, withdrawing senses, if we could take that and combine it in, it really helps seal the lesson, and the mythology is the same. So like with the Bhagavad Gita, and that's one of the first ones that I started with, but when we read the story of the Bhagavad Gita, and each teacher is going to have their own take on this, but the way that this has been useful in my life in teaching a lesson has been that there is understanding that our lifetime is a battlefield, that there's always going to be something coming up that creates where you're going to have to stand up and look at that thing, right? You're going to come face to face with this enemy or whatever. And so the Bhagavad Gita is symbolic of our life and the battlefield of life. And then you've got Arjuna and you've got Krishna, and Krishna's of spirituality, of God, being there with the warrior who has to face this unpleasant thing. And if we think about life, it's like you get one battle and then, smooth. But I don't know of anybody who's had like a lifetime of just smooth selling. You're going to have something come up and it's going to kind of ruffle your feathers, and you could either ignore it and let people walk all over you or whatever. But at some point you're going to get tired and you're going to have to stand up to it to be able to move beyond that. And so I use the Bhagavad Gita and the Arjuna on the battlefield story to help work with trust and surrender. In the past, I've used it for the healing power of presence, that, being in the moment and dealing with what's happening in front of you. I've used it for self worth, intuition, for clarifying uh, themes, and choosing new ways of being. So, and basically, Arjuna's paralysis on the battlefield when he doesn't want to go into battle and fight. This is where it mirrors the nervous system and the freeze dorsal vagal collapse. So, that story is an excellent one for showing that, he didn't want to do this, but he was born to do this and he's got to do this. And, but he has this divine, he has God with him in the chariot, driving the chariot, not telling him what to do, but being with him for, the grounding. And Krishna is it also doesn't even have to go to spirituality. It can just be that true north within us, and the logical thinking and all of that. And so the prefrontal cortex activation. So it start to tie it in this way where I could tell the story and spin it in a way that would teach the lesson to whatever I'm wanting to get across. And sometimes for college students, for everybody, that a little story time and seeing somebody else's thing, and they might think, that, wow, it's kind of like. And our teachers, we share the teacher Manorma, who, the Sanskrit teacher, and she would always tell stories about like her upbringing or her childhood or something that happened. And there were different people that would sit in the audience of this when she was teaching. There would be those who would go, "Oh my God, that teacher just talks about herself." And there would be the other students who would be understanding that she's not talking directly to them, but she's talking about situations that could be paralleling in their life, but using herself as an example. So that, and it would just kind of plant the seed in your mind of, so it's the teachings are, when I use mythology, are kind of like that, but it takes like my personal story out of it and it puts it into mythology. But nonetheless, it's telling a story of what I think is important, of a lesson that people can use to get beyond what they're doing. Right. So I compiled, to the best of my ability, some of the stories from my teachers and how you could start to apply them if that were your interest. Now, none of this is required for putting a workshop together. This is just, the recipe of what I've used in the emotional wellness workshops, but it works for me and it excites me to go back and visit my teacher's teachings, and also to see all the lessons that are woven through. And like I told, Gretchen, as part of all of this training, the yoga training, was my resistance. I just didn't want to say, I don't want to study Sanskrit. I don't want to read, and I don't want to, the sutras and this and that, but here I am. And in these workshops, putting them together, I've got all the books open. And and I always say it's my teacher's joke on me. It's like they got me at the end. They really did, because here I am trying to understand this, but it was in my own time. But I love these stories. And so what I do is I think about a story, but if I'm not really sure, and for let's just come up like with a title. Adriana, if you were going to have the series for this college, what would you call it? Like, what do you think? You may have thought already about, like, what would this like series or this class or this course, what would you name something like
Um, well, my thoughts were that it was going to be, I don't know, similar to a student organization in that the students kind of run it. This is just kind of the backbone of it because it would involve um, a lot of like studios in the community, and but as a workshop, I think for one, I don't know, like the internal highway, um, something along those lines that kind of ties the spine,
that?
vagus nerve, and chakras together. My
Mm-hmm.
sister.
So let me think. I'm thinking of so okay, yeah. A lot of times the title comes last for me. And
Mhm.
what I do is I start with an idea, and then I go in and I research where neuroscience would this idea. What does Dr. Stephen Porges, what is Dr. Ariel Swartz, do they have any information on this topic? So there's another one, and it's called Therapy in a Nutshell. She does great interviews with a lot of these doctors. So it's a combining a therapist with, the yoga. She likes to work through the body. So it's called Therapy in a Nutshell. You can find it on YouTube. It's all free. But that's where I start, is with the idea. And then I have these certain resources that I really, really like. And so I go and ask, what does so and so have to say about this? What does so and so have to say about this? And then I get all of that data and I look at it and I think about, what I can pull out of there that would be interesting when I present this as the scientific data of the studies that have been done about this by these doctors. So that's where it kind of all starts. So I use like a dry erase board, and it's a really big one. And sometimes I just write random words on that board, and then I come back to it and later and I look at that. So that's the first place, is to start with your ideas, but all of y'all. And then you go and look. So for guidance, you're going to find your own resources, but for guidance purposes, we'll look at Dr. Ariel Swartz. You'll look at Dr. Stephen Porges. You can look at Dr. Bessel van der Kolk. You're who are the other ones? But I pull up all of that, and then yeah, so that's the best way. And then for the mythology stories, I see if there's anything that kind of correlates with this. And so, if we want to talk about Ganesha, and I know that he's the remover of obstacles, but in neuroplasticity, it's the ability to rewire old patterns. Uh, using the symbology of the elephant, nature symbolizes memory, stability, groundedness, like how I can tie in some of this. So on your mythology worksheet here, you have lots of great ideas. So it doesn't matter where you start, but you can kind of look at this. And this is not, mythology, it's interpretation, it's people's different stories. So this is just some of my background on it. But of course, you can find a lot more about mythology on that. But that's one of the ways that I can safely tie in the yoga philosophy to a nervous system idea, right? And then, so take a moment and kind of look through that, the mythology, really, and just make sure that you're looking at that and you see um, how it's been used so that you can go back and refer it. And just let me know if you have any questions on what you're seeing.
I'm looking for my mythology worksheet.
You may
We,
not have it. It was in the first
oh,
go
it's
round.
the first one. Okay.
Yeah. So it probably is toward the back of your notebook is where I had recommended putting it.
Mhm.
And so I use it as symbolism. And not a symbolism, but like kind of almost a map of nervous system states, perception states, and how to shift in a perception, and to be able to work with working through our stuff. If you've taken the workshops, you've probably seen this, but I use either, sutras, the Bhagavad Gita, or mythology, but I rarely put it all in there because I just like to have a little bit of history and philosophy of yoga. It's just the way to honor the yoga practices that I'm teaching because it's without this yoga, I wouldn't know what healing through the body is. It was just something that started happening naturally. And if did you find it, Sandy?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. I loved using Durga and the warrior goddess, and I put where she had her boundaries and just talking about like, when anger rears up in us, just like envisioning that the symbolism of these goddesses stepping up to the plate to handle up on it. Okay, so yeah, I just wanted you to be familiar that this is in your notebooks and something that you can kind of look at, but you can also find your own. Have Sandy, I know we talked about the gods and goddesses a little bit. We introduced some of those of yoga mythology. We didn't spend a whole lot of time, but Adriana, have you had any? Did they have you learned a little bit about this? Um, was it referenced in your trainings at all?
Yeah, we use the Bhagavad Gita, and a lot of the stories were mentioned. Um, like Ganesha's familiar to me. I just don't use mythology very much. Like I think I just don't know about it enough to incorporate it as well. But this is like a really good guide to
Okay.
start incorporating it more and to read the stories and correlate them
Mm.
into the workshop.
Yeah, and I feel like there's no really good book on mythology or like one source, but just searching. I say ask Uncle Google and ask your uncle. And you just go in there and type it out in mythology of it, and it brings up all these different stories. So you can do further research in that way, and then, finding that tie-in for yourself. But it's really nice. It's helpful, and it's more. It keeps you neutral in trying to teach a lesson when you talk about mythology. And the reason I use the Hindu mythology is because the yoga system and like keeping it all, this is doesn't have to be. There's other mythology. If you just love something, like I let this be your world where you create all the parts of what you love about this and then make it unique in that way. Like there's no standard on this. There's no, it has to be this way. It's just I've created my own standard for what I present, and that's it. But however you choose to do this work, let it be up to you, because it's not just yoga movements that heal us. There's Tai Chi, there's other methods. So you can use any of that, right? But we want to stay in our lane of body, moving the body to work with bottom up therapy, because we are, most of us aren't the top down therapist. I
Right.
have,
I think.
Do you mean that like let's say I'm doing betrayal. I'm finding the
okay.
story in mythology where someone was betrayed, or
Oh, yeah.
that's what you
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. And, just
Greek
like the pistol.
mythology. Don't forget about Greek mythology. Christina uses a lot of Greek mythology, and sometimes we've heard more about that or college, different things like that. But don't, like Michelle said, don't limit it to find
Yeah.
mythology you want.
Any stories. Yeah. But I just think about when I get betrayed, I get pissed. And something inside of me opens up, and it's just like, oh, no, you didn't. And then because of all the yoga, and, you've got Parvati, and then you've got Durga, and then you've finally got Kali who comes in and just chops off heads, right? So in my mind, I kind of feel like, oh, hell no. And then I can just like feel this rearing up. And then I just imagine, but the grace that in the mythology, there's a certain gracefulness, and there's a certain, protection, a motherly protectiveness that you just rear up, and you're just like, oh, hell no. And so that's why I love to use it, because it matters to me. I feel like that when these moments come my way, right? So yeah, this should be really, really helpful. So I wanted to bring that out so that at least you got eyes on it and you see what's here. But again, there's no absolute in the way that you have to do this. I love for it to be very much your personality, very much your expression. This is art. This is, I always consider myself, I can't draw worth a crap. You know what I mean? It's like I don't have that art, but I do have an art of this. And so this is my expression of my art of life. And so you're invited to go in that direction. Okay. And then, so we go, any questions about the mythology though? What you've kind of reviewed there? And it's just a very simple guide. And then I sent you a template, yeah, a little template. It's not, because this doesn't go linear for me. I come from it from all over the place. So really, my best resource is a dry erase board, where I write down some of the ideas. And then I write down, what, when I'm researching the yoga postures and how, okay, here's where it's coming. Adriana, are you ready for it? So get Eastern body, Western mind, Anodea Judith. And, this is your chakra and where we start like recognizing in the physical body where emotions can be stuck. Like we talked about it a little bit this morning, right? Hips, heart space, what's associated with different areas of the body. Because when you start studying the chakras, and she was always my favorite resource, there may be more current ones now, but she's just my go-to, and I just absolutely love her information. And so in the book, there's literally a guide, and it works with physical body where there's a blockage, what emotions associated with, whether there's a blockage or an overflow, because the chakras are like that. There could be too much energy in one and not any energy in another. And so ideally we're working to get all the energy open so it flows freely. When we talk about the chakras, though, we want to talk about it like it's like a map, but again, not telling you where to go. It's just telling you where things are located. But doing that type of energetic work, and if you're talking about the base of the spine to the crown of the head, and the location is all within that and beyond, right? For the main seven chakras, then it's like learning it's learning how to move energy from the base of the spine up to the crown, but we also have to learn how to bring it from the crown down to the base of the spine. It has to be what we call a two-way highway. And where people get really weird is when they start studying energy, is that they work so much on bringing it up and they don't know how to bring it back down. So when we're too much energy up here in the ethers, we can't bring anything into fruition. When we're down, stuck, at the lower, it's just survival and all that, we don't have any of this creativity from that. So it needs to be a bilateral energetic highway. But in her book, she talks about emotion. She talks about this long before the nervous system wellness and all of, this has come about. And, so that is a great resource to start looking at, because like our teacher, Minerva, always has, when she's worked with me, she's always said, so for just a second, when we sit with ourselves, and I'm going to ask you to think about something that kind of bothers you. Okay. Something that kind of bothers you. And I need you just to sit with that. Nothing that's like traumatizing. I just need something that's mildly bothering. And when you bring that to mind, now I just need you to close your eyes and breathe in and exhale out. And is there a physical place on your body that you feel this? So when you feel like the time is right, place your hand on your physical body in the location that this might show up for you. Again, it's mild. And then once you do that, just allow yourself to breathe in and exhale out and just think about being curious. Now we can just like let go of whatever that mild thing is that bothered us and thank it for showing up. Is everybody able to place the hand on their physical body somewhere? Okay. So on Sandy, for you, your hand went to one or two hands. Where did it go?
One is on my belly and the other one's on my ear, like
On your ear. So in that area between
it's actually this whole area, right?
the intuition. So if we look at it from the chakra point of view, think about what chakras are involved in that space, right?
Yeah,
And
third eye.
so what you could do is look at the throat, the third eye, and the crown in Anodea Judith's book. Hang on. just for fun. Okay. One second. So we look at the crown, third eye, and throat associated. Okay. So the throat is the personal expression, communication, and finding one's own voice, the bridge for expressing emotions. The third eye, intuition, but it's also the frontal lobe, the thinking, the prefrontal cortex, right? Well, all of it's involved, but if we start to put this all together, and then the crown, the connection, the unity, and so she will actually have asana practices that you can do. But in her book, it sometimes there's an excess energy, like maybe in the throat, it's closed off. I can't say what I need, right? And then, I know what to do, but I can't speak what I need. And then I just feel disconnected from it all. And so there would be an asana practice that you could do that would integrate into these areas. Even if you have, where you can't do a flow type practice, there's certain yoga poses or pressure points that you could use to begin to work with that energy. And the greatest thing is that once you look it up and you identify the area of the body, that you don't think about the issue at all. But for guidance purposes. Huh? So you don't think about the issue at all anymore. Your job now is, once you get this information, is to do the asana practices that correlate with that space.
Okay.
So that might be a good guidance for you to start to look at, what does the healing look like? Because in the healing, in the practices that are suggested, there's always breathing involved in that. If you're doing yoga, you're also doing breathings. Do you see how, like, just the movements alone will start to open up energy and clarity? But the beautiful thing is, but good and bad, that if you try to think it out, you're going to get all down that crazy ass loop. So what this is saying is that we're doing this through the body. You have to set the thinking mind off to the side. You do your research to get your thing and start working in that way and see what it has to offer you in there. Okay. So and Adriana, where did you put your hand physically on the body? What area?
Yes, I landed on my solar plexus.
Personal power, ego, self-esteem, those type of things. And then, so we think about like all those areas, and I think about digestive issues. So we start putting this together with the nervous system when our hand guides us to that area. And then we look at some of the symptoms that we may have been, going through. And then we go to Amdea Judith, and you say, okay, for that area, that chakra energy, what are things that I would do? And that would have your twisting in there, the compression, the release, and, just revitalizing blood flow. Might have your forward folds and different poses that would affect that physical space in your body. But the thing is, you got to drop what made you put your hand on your belly. See, this work is separate than that. So you took the information that you asked for information, you got the information. Now we have to set that aside, and we're going through the physical body to do the work. And then we can revisit this. And after you do some physical work through your body, to see what that means for you. Okay. And then Gretchen, was there a place that you put?
It's my sacrum, And then, of course, like an arrow shot me through the back to the front on the left side, sacral area, like your piriformis,
Yeah. So
sacral,
so we would say your,
like
and this
go
is
like
true. This is creativity
1 and 3,
stifled.
somewhere in there. Yeah,
Yeah.
creativity cycle. Yeah.
Creativity is going to suffer in that second one, her, and so, you know, that doing what poses would you just do for yourself in that
Um,
area that's going to
yeah.
concentrate on that area that would be safe for your injury.
Yeah. You want me to tell you
Yeah,
or do you
yeah.
let
Tell
me?
tell them so they can
Um,
learn.
so what I would do is I would do some of the glute activation that we do, right? I would do inversions, whether supported or on your, on your own steam, so to speak.
Mhm,
And when I say inversions, I mean like shoulder stand.
mhm.
Um, because I have a prolapse too. So I work with like sacral position. I do hip openers. I do hip mobility exercises, like flexion of the hip and extension of the hip. I
Yes.
do, yeah, all
She's
of it.
working
Yeah,
in she's working in
three-dimensional. I
that
work in three-dimensional.
area,
Mm.
and
And
but
then,
you don't bring the issue with you, right?
mm-mm.
Because what's
It's
going to
just like
happen
what I
is
try to do is
our
bring a curiosity. Like if it was you and you came to me and said, like any one of you, and you came to me and said, "This is the thing that's happening to me. What do I do?" I would set about certain things, and other people have come to me and said, "Hey, maybe an inversion would help." I was like, I didn't even think of that.
Mm,
Or um, so I do wall work, abdominal exercises, different kinds of like working with Mula Bandha and low lunge or Garudasana eagle pose. Like, how can I work with this prolapse? Like, really thinking about, even though we talk about Mula Bandha all the time, yada, 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 it's just a different way to work when you're trying to really bring Mula Bandha into every single exercise that you do. And and on the exhale and a full relaxation of the Mula Bandha. So like when we do Mula Bandha and everybody tells you to do a Kegel, you're like, I got it. I got it. But you forget about the relaxation phase. And that relaxation phase, just like anything we do in yoga, has as much merit or more. So it
and
has to
and
be.
and working
I mean, it can
from
go beyond.
bilateral,
Yeah,
huh?
bilateral, opposite,
And
opposite
and
side,
so whatever we're strengthening, we also have to soften.
strengthen and
So if we didn't find any relief from the strengthening of that area, then maybe we bring in a softening in that area as well. And we work in that practice, but we're just like pounding in that sacral area, you know, and working that from different ends with breath and whatnot. But then revisiting, how do I feel?
well, and
So for,
to and what bubbles up too, like certain
mhm,
sadness or um like unrecognizable grief, weird grief is
yeah,
bubbled up, or different things have bubbled up around this practice. Fear, um, lots of stuff that has just come up. And of course, because I teach public class, I drag all those people with me. So stuff's come up for them too. And they
and
can
then
do it
you know
too. They
what's
can do it too. Everybody can do it. So what
when
I'm doing is just like developing this whole sequence just for people that deal with
yeah,
fibroids, prolapse, men that have like urinary dysfunction or even erectile dysfunction. All of these things work well for them too. And no medication is required. Is it an easy fix? No. Does it require time? Yes. So just like any um, holistic modality, it's not going to be like a pill where you can just take aspirin and feel better, have your headache relieved. It takes time, and like Michelle said, like a certain amount of introspection.
yeah, and the real work is for somebody like that is really smart, is not to go back and dissect the story once they get the information. That's the real work. So here's the thing is like if you're when you're teaching a yoga class and you're getting into those poses, then you got to finish them out. You've got to take them into some type of breathing exercise that's going to dissipate some of this energy before they have time to get back in here. And then that's why I like to add the guided meditation at the end, because I keep them busy. After I move the physical body, I try to keep them from going
Keep the party
off.
going good, not going bad, right? Keep the party going good.
Right, right.
Uh-huh.
Because
Yeah.
that's a you could stimulate these areas, but then you can go trail off into the story, right?
Yeah, I,
Or
I
what
certainly
it
don't.
happened. No,
Yeah,
all of us. This is all of us.
yeah.
And for my boundaries has been working with the throat, the inability to speak up, right? And literally thyroid issues. Ever since for all the years that I've had difficulty, I've dealt with thyroid issues. And if you think about it, you look at it and you go, what the heck? So you see, a certain area that energetically is blocked is uncomfortable, it's uneasy. If you don't do something about that uneasiness and relieve that, it becomes uneasy to disease. So the longer that we hold unfinished emotions in our physical body, at some point will manifest itself into full-blown disease.
Well, and
And
it's such a boondoggle too, because you don't know what you don't know until you know, right?
but you well,
Yeah.
maybe, but
Well,
maybe all along it's been tapping you.
oh,
Maybe it's been pushing you.
for
And then
sure.
maybe it had to get to pushing you down.
Damn it.
Norma would always say, right? Life is
Find balance
tapping
or
you. And
balance
then
will find you. Yeah.
if you don't slow down, you're going to break a leg. You see, life will slow you down.
Yeah.
So,
I appreciate, what I've been trying to do is just like be grateful for the information and not get caught up in the what ifs and if I'd have just onlys, because that's
yeah.
part of the story too that leads to victim consciousness. And so,
Yeah.
like you said, to keep yourself kind of, I have to ride herd on myself or I will fall into a pity party. So if I don't ride herd on myself, like let's
Heard.
change this.
We're going to do a book
Get
about
back over
Gretchen's,
here,
like,
over here. Oh, ha, ha. Get back over.
I
This way, this way. I got to ride herd on myself a
no,
lot.
but you see, and it's like, I've been doing this for years and I still have a thyroid problem, y'all. It's not like we're going to cure ourselves, but I am aware and maybe, so there, and I'm empowered that I could do work in this area. And, I can venture out and speak up a little bit. And then I run off like that little, dog or cat that
Precious
got
little fluffy
scolded.
rabbit.
And then I get enough courage and I go back out, but it's like step by step. So,
Like
especially if this
Sandy's
has
funny.
been, it's been a pattern for all of our lives. It may have been a pattern that was passed to us from the way that our parents were raised. So
Yeah.
however long this pattern has been with us, it's fine. It's like what but from this moment on, what am I going to do with this, right? And so that's the way with curiosity,
That's
working
what
with
I'm hearing from
blockages.
you is that like to be curious. Yeah,
And the
just
same way that you can
Seriously.
go into like a meditation and ask your body, like, where do you feel it? I get mine through dreams. Like I'll
Mhm.
get this bizarre dream, I'll look up the meaning and it'll say like, oh, it's tapping you on the shoulder right now. You better pay attention to this. And I don't, and I keep until it like explodes.
And
I'm
now
like
you
angel
have
numbers.
you have
I'm always
you have
numerology. Yeah.
Mhm. But you have the reminder now to take action steps that are easy enough. A yoga pose, a breath, a conscious breath into that space. Like it doesn't take long, but you
No.
have to like consciously and you have to consistently go do this thing.
Ride and
And
herd. That's ride and herd. Hmm.
Yeah. And so, it's like for most of my life, there's nothing that I could do on a consistent basis. And that's one of the reasons why I don't do Pilates. I don't do 100 of anything. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so I started with something and I just thought, huh. So, like, my thing has been every morning I do a prayer. And without fail, I don't let myself look at my phone, even though I might have a text message. I don't let myself do it's like my reward is I do my prayer first, and then I can, go on with my day. But it's like the only thing in my life that I have done for over 40 days.
Nice.
And so it's like, wow, that's a huge step. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
score, because I realized that there's something that I thought, didn't think I could do, but I'm doing. And it's like that, I don't even do the full thing. I give myself 10 minutes, I give myself 5 minutes. But now I'm finding myself, I want to do that. I really need to do that. And I don't like distractions. And I want to finish that before I deal with anybody, anything. Okay, so we're at 3:14. I'm going to take about a 15-minute break, let y'all pee pee and stuff, and then we're going to come back and we've got some more good stuff. And I've got a gnat that just came. Okay, I'll see you in about 15. Okay. And so just to finish up some of the workshop, like when you're working on your workshop, the checklist that I sent you guys, there's a few more little things I just want to cover as you begin to start working on whether it be used for a yoga class or for an actual workshop that you want to put out there. But when you come down to the primary focus on page 1 of your workshop template, that is a reminder of the things that you could research about the whatever the presentation that you want to give. So you would look for what would nervous system regulation look like for this, and you could check that up. You can have for trauma informed yoga teaching for this specific thing. But these are suggestions on when you want to call it a nervous system regulation workshop. These are some of the things that you would consider putting into it. Not all of them have to be there, but thinking about the length of time you'd want the project to be. When I am going to go present to the corporates, doing those type of things, it's going to be a much shorter version, and it's going to be a lot less educational, but a lot more of feeling of what the effects are. So, I'll be putting that together, and I'll share that with you, Adriana, on how I plan to approach that, with maybe what I plan on doing is doing a demo video of a few things, and very similar to what we did earlier when we sat in the chair and we did a cat cow and we did a seated spinal twist with some breathing techniques, and then have them, just see how that changes up their mood or their performance, right? So then I would create more of a 45-minute type of thing that maybe they would want to offer their employees as wellness, continuing wellness. And that would be tiny bit educational, but a lot more uh, feel this and see how you feel in your nervous system. And then, my hope is to make it more available, that it would be a resource that they could just tap into some videos, a library that would be made specifically for them. And you doing it in person would be a little bit different, but you probably still want to introduce yourself with a little tiny video of how you could, make a difference with what you're teaching, right? Introduction type of video, email with a little tiny snippet of a video on that. But it's good to identify the learning objectives. What do you really want them to come out with? So, like through this training, my objective was for y'all to really understand the nervous system and to understand how moving the body, can affect the nervous system, and how moving the breath can affect the nervous system, and how a guided meditation could affect the nervous system. And so when you have those tools, then you'll be able to put lots of things together. And yeah, so backing it up with science for sure, and looking for those resources, and those are the resources that you're going to find. So I think I have the resources listed on on these pages, um, on your, let's see, page. Let's see that. Gotta have, but there are the resources that we have talked about over and over. So here's a few names that you might want to list out to look up for your specific topics. Ariel Swart, I'm sorry, it's no Z at the end. And then Tara Swartz, Peter Levine, Bessel van der Kolk, and these were suggested books for the training that you got. Um, y'all haven't seen the Healing from the Inside Out video yet, right? That's going to be something I'll send for y'all for the gut health, and how we apply yoga in the nervous system, and working with wellness on that. And then I talked about today therapy in a nutshell. She's amazing, and her guests are amazing. I use Carl Jung, some of his research, and then some of the yoga resources. Definitely Ram Dass is a big one, or Dr. Richard Alpert is his formal name, but Ram Dass. My Jivamukti Yoga, Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, the Bhagavad Gita, and specifically working off of the 8 limbs of yoga. So those are ways to tie in some of the philosophy and the science into our workshops.
And just as another thing, don't forget about Manorma's. She has a beautiful blog
Oh,
that
yes.
talks a lot about that, about living a yogic lifestyle, and it's sanskritstudies.org. And
Mm-hmm.
just look up blog. She has a lot of blogs. Just as a
Yeah.
note.
No, for sure. For sure. And let's see. Oh, and there's another guy that I love. Oh God, what is his name? This one is kind of newer to me, but he's been really fun. Chase, what's his name? Chase Hughes, behavioral specialist. He has some excellent insights, and works with the CIA and training ops, and all those type of things. And he, along with Ram Dass, has a lot of they do the psychedelics studies, and those type of things. So it's just very interesting. So as far as like putting a workshop together, there's some resources, and I don't see any big workshops being, unless you want to do presentations. That would be good to kind of let me know if it's something that you want to practice the presentation at the very last weekend on that Sunday is, or Saturday or Sunday. We can schedule that in. I highly recommend, when you have an opportunity to do that, to do it, so that you can get the feedback, and we can make that thing presentable, and then you can actually do something with that material like right off the bat. So that's something to think about as time allows. Okay. And then I'm not sure if Sandy's back, but we are going to, I asked Gretchen to
I'm
do
back.
okay, we're going to do a kidney press. There, yeah, I don't know if it's a good time, if we've eaten. Sandy's
Sorry,
probably over there.
you're going to be fine. It's not hard. You can even eat and do this if you really were so compelled to
Okay,
snack at
cool.
the same time. You could do it at the same time.
Cool. Yeah,
I,
I think that this is be a really nice for the nervous system for you to, do a little. It's so small, but so meaningful. Let's see how you feel afterward. Okay. Okay, Gretchen,
So
thank you.
basically what you're, pardon me, you're going to need a blanket. Okay. Just a regular blanket. So yoga blanket looks like this. And then you're going to roll that blanket up like a jelly roll. Like it's not Christmas, but Easter's just passed. So jelly roll season's officially over till next year. And then what you're going to do is lie down on your back on your mat with your rolled up blanket and have that along to the side of you. Sandy, this is okay for you to do too if you're so willing. I'll give you different instructions than they'll have, but you're going to put that blanket, and I'm going to show you while I'm standing because it's hard for me to get my computer's old, and if I take it off the charger, it won't work. It's going to go right here in your back, so above your waistband and below your bottom ribs. So lie down first on your back, bend your knees, place both feet on the floor, have your blanket alongside of you, the seam side down, just like a jelly roll. Not the man, but the dessert.
I
Um,
love me jelly roll.
I know you love a lot less of them now. So you're going to lie down both knees on the floor. And what we're going to do first is just keep the blanket out for just a second. Let's just bend our knees, put both feet on the floor. And you're just going to windshield wiper your knees to the right and to the left. Separate your feet, sit bone distance apart or a little bit wider. And just let your knees fall off to the left and off to the right. And you really want your knees to just get their fullest range of motion as much as they can do. If there's things in the way, and I realize the rolled blanket's there, but it's soft. It's not going to hinder you, I don't think. And then you're just going to bring your knees back up to center, bring your left ankle to your right thigh, just a figure four stretch because we've been sitting for a while. Reach through in between your legs and grab the back of your right leg. So left ankle's on top. Reach through, grab the back of your right thigh. And I want you just to, with your left foot, just make some circles with your foot. Just circle your foot at the ankle. That's the one that's crossed, not the one that's in front of you. Just make some circles. Just circle the other direction for a few times. And then release, unwrap, and unwind. And we're just going to change legs. So you'll do figure four to the second side. Sukhi Randrasan, Sanskrit name. Reach through in between, grab the back of your thigh or the front of your left shin now, if you have arms long enough to get a hold of that. And then now we're going to take our right foot and we'll circle our right foot in a few directions. Really big circles, really trying to use your ankle. Adjustments are free in this training. You popping, cracking, releasing that way, free to you. And then you're going to put both feet on the floor and just draw your knees to your chest, hug them in close. Rock a little side to side, just side to side, knees together, feet together. If you can hold them in your arms, great. If you can't, then just hold them together, like your mama said. Keep your knees together. Now you're just going to put both feet on the floor, both feet on the floor. Anywhere they land is fine. You're going to push into the floor. Remember, like from yesterday, push into the floor equally and evenly. Tone the glutes, press your back waist down, draw your navel towards your spine, tailbone toward the ceiling, and press up just enough to get that rolled blanket underneath you. Remember, it's below your bottom rib and above your waistband. That's the kidney area. And you'll put it there. And in a perfect world, you'd like for your shoulders to rest on the floor and your bottom to rest on the floor. Let's just say your bottom's up, then you'll just scoot down towards your feet a little bit to adjust it so that you can get your bottom to the floor. Now, Sandy, I'm speaking just to you now. With that rolled blanket, you'll just put it under your sacrum. That's the triangle bony place in your low back where they have it higher on the kidney area. You're just going to support your sacrum with that rolled blanket or folded blanket, whichever you choose. And for Sandy, your tailbone's going to turn up toward the ceiling. For Adriana and Michelle, their tailbone's going to turn down. So this is kind of a passive back bend, okay? So both knees are bent, both feet on the floor. Michelle, do you want me to do the whole thing?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And Sandy, you can do this with us too. You'll do the same leg motions that we do too. All right, so everybody, knees bent, feet on the floor, heel toe your feet together. So the big toe sides of your feet are touching and your inner knees are touching. Okay, you're going to let your right leg fall out to the right as far as it will go. Right leg goes to the right. And then without letting your shoulders come off the floor, stack your left leg on top of your right leg. Yep. And then just bring both knees a little closer to your chest. Just pull them up a little bit. Yep. You have a free hand, and you can take that free hand and place it on the top thigh just to help hold things down. Now, with your other arm, I want you to reach that arm up by your ear, okay? And just lengthen the left side body just as far as you can go. Now take your right hand, grab your left wrist, and just pull your arm straight. Just pull it straight. Big side body stretch. Bring your top leg now to your bottom leg. So really use some muscle energy. Bring your left leg to your right leg, almost like you're trying to hold a $500 bill there. Big side body stretch. And then after your next exhale, you're going to inhale and bring one knee at a time, release your wrist and come back up to center. If you've gotten crooked, if your pelvis has gotten crooked, just make a little adjustment, get yourself sorted, and then we'll start to the other side. So now left knee opens out as far as it'll go. Then we stack our right foot on top of our left foot and bring our legs together. And then bring your knees a little closer to your chest, just a smidge. Now your left hand holds your right thigh down, and you're going to extend your right arm up, bicep near your ear. And then with your free hand that was touching your leg, that is your left hand. You're going to pull your right arm straight and then use muscle energy. Bring your top leg toward your bottom leg, like you're holding something between your knees. Side body stretch. So as much as you pull, you get that side body stretch. And then when you're ready, we'll inhale to prepare, exhale, and we'll bring one knee at a time, releasing your wrist and come back up to center. Adjust yourself if you feel like you've gotten off your blanket or your sacrum isn't touching, that you're equal and even on the blanket. Now bring the soles of your feet together so the bottoms of your feet are touching. You'll let your knees open out wide. And if you need support for your knees, a brick would be fine, or anything that you can muster. But this is really great because this is Setu Bandhasan. No, excuse me. Baddha Konasana, the lying down version, so reclined Baddha Konasana. And what you're going to do is I want you just to feel into where the roll is touching. When we do this reclined version of Baddha Konasana, there is a natural arch that occurs in this pose. Our kidney area lifts away from the floor. So now with that rolled blanket either at the kidney or the sacrum for Sandy, when we let our knees open out wide, those areas are supported. That would be away from the floor. So wherever that blanket is touching, whether it's your kidney area or your sacrum, you're just going to take a few breaths into that space. It feels esoteric, but we're really just breathing into the back body. So see, as you inhale, and it's kind of a three-part yogic breath, you want to send your inhalation down to where the rolled blanket is. As you inhale, I want you to feel your back body expand on the blanket. And then as you inhale, have your inhale be slightly longer than your exhale be slightly longer than your inhale. Then you're just going to do it a few more times. Let's just say a half a dozen. It may take a while for you to actually feel that, but the proprioceptive feeling of the blanket as you breathe into the blanket, softness. Then as you exhale, let your belly expand, let your inner thighs release from the groin to the inner knee, release and lengthen. Outer hips soften to facilitate this movement, this opening. Probably got about 2 more breaths now. So inhaling into the blanket, expand the kidney area with your inhalation. Then as you exhale, lengthen your inner thigh, soften your outer hip. And we'll do it just one more time. Inhale fully, pressing your back ribs or back kidney area into the blanket. And then as you exhale, lengthen your inner thigh, soften your outer hip. Now we've been here for a minute, so what you're going to do is take your hands on either side of your legs. You're going to use the strength of your arms to help your legs come together. Now, carefully, okay, what we're going to do is draw our tailbone toward the ceiling and lift our hips up just so that they're equal and even to the height of the rolled blanket, not higher than, just in line with the rolled blanket. Then tone your glutes a little bit, lift just a little bit higher, and slide the blanket out all the way. Now keep your hips lifted as you pull the blanket away, and we'll slowly lower down vertebra by vertebra. So think shoulder blades, back ribs, kidney areas down, top of the back of the pelvis, center of the pelvis. And as a flourish, we're just going to arch our back, press your tailbone down, and then return to a neutral spine. Okay? And so what I want you to do now, if you're willing, is just the blanket's away. It's out and away. You'll take that blanket rolled or whatever shape or size it looks like as you've taken it out. Put it behind your head now so that you can unroll it or roll it so that your neck is supported. It's a neck roll, not too high, not too low. Just take an edge, roll it up so that your neck is supported and the back of your skull is resting on the floor. Neck is supported. Back of the skull is resting on the floor. You just make your adjustments for that pillow. And then we're going to cross our right leg over our left leg. So this is like cross like a lady, but don't double wrap. Okay. We're going to take the twist, the spinal twist. So that means right leg goes to the left. So the top legs are going to go to the left. Extend your right arm out, palm down. Okay. Dogs are fighting. Y'all got to go. Get out. Get out. Go on. Now you're going to inhale, bring both legs back up to center. Don't uncross, and go the other direction. So now it's an IT band as you take both legs to the right. But I want you to focus on your inner left ankle bone. Press the big toe side of your foot down so that your inner ankle bone stays away from the floor. So we're toning the outer left shin. Tone the outer left shin. Yep, and then we're going to inhale, bring it up. We're going back to the twist again, so we won't stay as long this time, but we'll go now back to the left. Both legs go left. This is the spinal twist. And then we'll come all the way up and then take the IT band twist as we take everything to the right. Inner ankle bone, left side, staying off the floor, tone your outer shin. And then we'll bring everything back up to center, uncross, unwrap, and unwind, and then change cross. So now left leg's on top, right leg's on the bottom. We take the twist to the left, to the right, take both legs to the right. Same thing, extend your left arm out, palm faces down. Just an easy spinal twist here. Remember both shoulder blades on the floor. That's it. And then we're going to inhale, come up, and then now go to the left for the IT band stretch for the right leg. So remember, right inner ankle bone, big toe side of the foot, from the big toe all the way down that inside seam of the foot. Going to press that down, keep your inner ankle bone away. Tone your outer right shin. And then we're going to inhale, come up, go back the other way, the way you came. One more spinal twist here. Just take that twist. We won't stay as long, but we'll be here for a sec. And then bring everything back up to center and take the other direction, IT band stretch. This is really good for your piriformis. It's really great for people that suffer with sciatic nerve pain. This way is really good for people that suffer sciatic nerve pain or pelvic instability, right? And so then we're going to inhale, bring everything back up to center, uncross, both feet are on the floor. One more chance to windshield wiper. Remember, you're trying to find your fullest range of motion. Let your legs open out as far as they open out. So this is like bed yoga. If you did this in the morning, it's another way to stabilize the pelvis, to release side waist, side body. And then you're going to the side that you're headed to now. That'll be your last side. And then we'll bring both knees back up to center. So keep your left foot on the floor. Draw your right knee to your chest. And interlace your fingers behind your thigh, like where the belly of your hamstring is, and just extend your leg in the air. So don't think of it as like a big, deep hamstring stretch. Think of it as I'm going to seat my femur in the socket. So let your arms get straight. Push your hands back into your thigh, and then push your thigh into your hands. So it's kind of a double action, seats the femur in the socket. We're going to circle our right foot 4 times, big circles. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Go the other direction now. 4, 3, 2, 1. There's always a dorky side, right? And then we'll bend our knee, put that foot on the floor, and we'll change sides. So now bring your left knee into your chest, interlace your fingers behind your left thigh, and fully extend your left leg. Once your leg is extended, push your thigh into your hands, use muscle energy, and then pull your hands back against your thigh, which helps to seat the femur in the socket. Then we'll make those 4 circles, big circles. 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then we go the other direction. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bend your knee, place both feet on the floor. Great. And then you'll stretch your legs out straight for just a few moments. Shall I hit the wall? And just let it all go. Soften and release any areas of tension or tightness. Really be supported by the floor, your mat. Let your belly be soft and relaxed, broad and open. Let your breath flow easily in and out. Easy inhalation, slightly longer exhalation. Easy inhalation, slightly longer exhalation. Allow every inhalation to be restoration, every exhalation, relaxation. Inhale and exhale. Inhale, restore. Exhale, relax. Slowly begin now to bring your awareness back into the room by making small movements of your fingers and your toes, or any stretching of your arms and legs, whatever it takes for you to gently awaken your body. And then when the time is right for you, bend your knees, place both feet on the floor, and then just roll to rest on your side for a few moments. Not in a hurry to get up. Draw your knees towards your chest a little bit more. Just kind of tuck into a fetal position. And now turning all the way over to face the floor, use the strength of your arms. And let's press up and come to a seated position. Namo Namaha.
Yeah. Favorite. My favorite. Well, what do y'all think? And also,
I really like the side body stretch with the pressure there too on the back body. Um I'd never done that before and it felt really good. Um that's what stuck out to me. I like that one a lot.
Good.
I felt so supported with the blanket under my pelvis, and it was. I liked when you said, "Okay, now bring your knees together a little bit more," and I felt some, you know, just a shift there, so it was good.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
And you
yeah,
said that the twisting over, the cross-legged, turning over, like kind of pressing your big toe down is stretching the sciatic nerve. Okay.
Didn't you feel that all along the side seam of your leg, right? So
Mhm.
that's IT band.
Okay.
It's good for people that suffer sciatic nerve pain because if people are having sciatic nerve pain, it runs down the side of their leg and then comes to the inner knee sometimes. And the IT band is a hard muscle to access,
Right.
to feel anything there. So it's a good one for that.
Hmm.
And it also teaches the cue of tone your outer shin, which is
Hmm.
helpful on down the road for lots of poses.
Hmm. That's very
Mhm.
nice.
now can you imagine how the college student would feel just by doing that little movement,
It wasn't even
right?
10
That little
minutes.
sequence, huh?
It wasn't even 10 minutes. So
Yeah.
people that have short attention spans, a big difference can be made in a short amount of time.
Hmm.
And so it sounds to me that's something that y'all are wanting to speak to is a shorter sequence that keeps their attention but makes a big impact. And so start thinking in those ways of the little things that you can do. I always think to myself, if I only had a few minutes with these people, like I pretend like it's my only chunk of time I'll ever have with them. If I can make the most impact in what the poses that we do, so these are something that you could start to think about.
And you can do
Um,
it in your bed too, bed yoga.
bed yoga.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Boga.
Right? Yeah. What is it? What is it?
Boga, bed yoga.
Boga, boga. Yeah. So that's things for y'all to think about, and I'll be sending a video on the healing from the inside out. That's really interesting, and it's Dr. Pradeep Jamdas. He is, oh my God, he's just, he uses Ayurveda and Western, Eastern philosophy. He is a cardiologist who deals with a lot of GI because he knows that the gastrointestinal affects the cardiology health. So when we put this together in yoga and emotional wellness and the nervous system, it's another angle to start to think about of like, the things that we could really make a difference in people's everyday lives. And like I said earlier, that this is literally scratching the surface. So when I have Alekia or I have somebody like Dr. Ashley Ann and, professionals and, I talk to them often and, I have them come to the workshops as well, just to check in with what, I'm teaching. And, I feel sometimes shy about it because I realize that it's so basic, but yet it's not. And it's like basic information that I wish all the yoga teachers could utilize with this kind of knowledge in the movement that they're doing for a greater impact. But so we start somewhere, and here's where we're starting is we've got this little addition. We add it to something that we've already learned about, and we start making our changes there, and we keep studying, we keep researching things, and you know we create our own environment where we see how people feel. The feedback that I get from students who work with this has been incredible. And so you should get feedback, from how people feel after this. But sometimes you don't even need to ask. Sometimes you just got to look at their eyes. And like you can see, my eyes are glazed over and just so calm. And to me, that's enough, is to be able to see that kind of settling. When somebody came in and they were really shallow breathing in the chest, barely breathing. And by the end, I see them sitting there and they're just like, their imaginary cigarette. But yeah. So I'll send the videos out, a couple of videos for you to watch between now and then. And then our third weekend is more where we tie it all up into a little package. And so the topics that we still are looking at are teaching forward, our application and ethics that we need to cover. We have teaching from agency, working with the nervous system. We'll review the gut health video, which is a lot to talk about there. We'll talk about the amygdala, fear triggers, repatterning, the hippocampus, where the memory and all of that is stored, neuroplasticity and identity and sustained change. And then there's an opportunity for you to lead some of the practices. So even though, Sandy, I know you're not out there teaching, this is the opportunity to, just like everybody else in a new way, they're kind of teaching new too. It's not like what we've been teaching or what we know. This is a little different with some sort of intention behind the teaching. So you're in good company. And yeah, that's what's coming up on the third weekend. So I'd like to know what you're taking with you from today and from the weekend. If there was anything that new that you learned from it, and if you felt like your time was well spent in that. Okay.
Is this, how many sessions do we have? We have one more session and then workshops, or next time is the workshop?
Next time is the workshop. That's
Okay.
it. It's like we even overdo 50 hours. It's more than 50 hours by the time you do your videos, and then you work on your workshops and stuff. And I'm here if you have any ideas that you want to run by me. But just one, I need to let me know you're doing one and about how much time you would like to have. And it's small, it's just us. So it's the perfect opportunity to get the words out. Just like, when we're teaching the breathing techniques, it's a little different thinking about doing it and then actually doing it. And it's always best to have your first time in an environment that's supportive and learning environment, but it's not a have to. So take off any pressure of that. But yeah. So, Sandy, what did you learn from today and this weekend? And let me know. And you can be honest with me, because I really need the feedback on how these programs are doing. If it was time well spent, and then the people who have missed and whatnot, June 13th will be I said this was the last one, but I'm going to give them an opportunity to make this up. And so there'll be another 3-month section like this coming up, but it's mostly for yoga teachers. I'd rather teach to yoga teachers so I don't have to teach all of that. Okay. So go ahead, Sandy.
Well, I kept hearing the word cortisol the last couple of probably a year or so, and I was just like, okay, people are just throwing this word around, and so I'm glad I'm finally able to, get behind, like, okay, what's cortisol
Mm-hmm.
and what causes it and how can we help it? So this was very informative. The dopamine loop, that was interesting to me because to me, like, I don't know if I understood this right, but it's like trauma can cause dopamine hits in a way.
Yeah. Yes. Well,
It's so
it changes
addicted
the
to it.
way it changes the dopamine loop cycle.
Hmm.
And so yeah, it's
So we're constantly, we sometimes maybe we'll subconsciously put ourselves in those situations because we want that dopamine hit.
yeah,
Maybe
it's
kind of like a trauma bonding. You're
yeah,
in the wrong relationship because you're getting the dopamine hit, but it's not the right relationship.
yeah.
Yeah,
It
if you feel it.
so through that trauma, chronic
Mhm.
stress, abandonment wounds, and emotional neglect, unpredictable environments that all teaching the nervous system to chase the external cues of safety.
Mhm.
So trauma survivors, they have less sensitivity to healthier rewards. They have a higher need for stimulation. Yes. So we stay in these loops that feed that, and
Mhm.
it's not necessarily healthy. Uh, Overworking,
Yeah.
you know, doing those type of things, staying in toxic relationships. Again, it all goes back to what's familiar and
Mhm.
walking the familiar path rather than an unknown path, because that really freaks the brain out, the nervous system out. It
Mhm.
doesn't know what to expect, and it would rather know what to expect and be unpleasant than not know what to expect. The brain is just not programmed for that.
Yeah.
It'll resist you.
Mhm. Yeah, but it's all interesting. And I remember one of our the yoga when we did yoga teacher training, I think it was Sam, she did it on trauma. I wasn't there that day, but yeah, and here I am years later learning about it, and it's so interesting. It's deep. It's once you become aware of that, you can heal so much. And so I'm glad I took this workshop. It's opening areas that I can explore and study and learn more about. So not even before this, I wouldn't even know, okay, well, where do I start looking at that?
Mhm, mhm.
So you put it in a good format of things to go into. Yeah.
Continue on. Yeah, I'm excited about this, and I want to be on this journey with you guys. I'm excited to learn what you're learning and to stay in contact long after this is done. It's just like, hey, man, this is cool. This guy, like Chase Hughes, I just think it's super fascinating, and I can see how I could tie it in. So be sure to hit me up with like what you're finding, because this is brand new territory. This
Yeah.
is brand new, putting it together with yoga like we are.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And I almost kind of question like what's the difference between somatic yoga and gentle restorative yoga? It's just there's like a gray area. Like I'm not understanding exactly. I do, but it's hard for me to say, okay, yeah, that's definite.
It depends on who's teaching it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Because
Mhm.
to me, it's always been somatic yoga when you're asking for them to check in, to do
Yeah.
this, to give them time to go in and do that. But it's not always. Sometimes it's just going through the motions and doing a sequence of poses, and
Mhm.
that's okay. Like when we first start learning how to teach,
Yeah.
but knowing that I feel like somatic yoga is a term that's what do you call this, like um, those terms that are just really popular right now,
Yeah.
catchphrase type of
Yeah.
thing. But I feel like when it's taught in the way that it's supposed to be taught, it is somatic yoga.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah, it. Yeah. I mean, these ancient practices had it all in there. They've had it all along. And here we are. We're just like, like Westerners do.
Mhm.
Oh, I've created this, but it's been ingrained in this all the way through. We just didn't know, but that's why we probably were so attracted to it. It felt so good in a way that we've never felt that good
Mhm. Yeah.
inside. Yeah, so cool. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Adriana?
Um, I thought the dopamine loop was really interesting, and I'm glad we discussed it and how yoga is a low stimulus dopamine, and how like doing yoga and like taking breaths and regulating the nervous system, you can like retrain your brain to seek things in a different way because the dopamine loop is so like hard to come out of even, and even it's hard to break cycles, obviously. And even if you're aware that you're in it, getting out is still like you're fighting your brain. Like your body like your body knows, but you're like, well, I can't.
Yeah.
and um and even I saw something that was like dopamine, like the reason social media is so bad, right? Like for everybody, and especially the kids, me, my generation, is because the constant dopamine loop. Like you just scroll and scroll and scroll, and you see somebody do something, and it feels like your brain is like, oh, like I'm doing that thing because I'm watching somebody do it. And so your brain gets the hit as if you did that thing. You didn't. And that's why like you scroll and for so long, like watching people do yoga poses, and you're like, wow. And but you're still like, oh, just get up and practice. And like that's what I've like started to do more recently, because I victim obviously to my brain. And just all of these practices that are able to kind of bring you out of and just bring a general awareness to what's happening inside, just biologically also kind of helps too. That like it's not your fault that like you get stuck in these cycles and like you constantly see it, but you can do something about it. I also thought the cortisol portion was really important as well. um I liked looking at my notes. um I really thought it was interesting how cortisol is so noticeable, I guess, throughout the people around us, how people carry themselves through posture, through eye contact, through the subtle things that we may not even be paying attention to. Um, and how important it is to like carry yourself well, especially in a space of yoga and in a space of, I don't know, a place where people are coming to be like vulnerable and feel supported. How it's really important to like be that like guide for people and like hold yourself in a way that people can kind of refer to and be like, okay, I can feel good too. And yeah, we were talking about how high cortisol like affects like maybe your run time, or you're talking too fast, or like not talking loud enough or whatever. And um it's just like things that I've been able to like notice with like some people I know, or like some teachers that I've just started teaching. And it's just, I don't know, it's interesting being able to relate it all into real life. um Not that this isn't real life, it's everybody's life.
Yeah.
um but I also really liked the incorporation of the guided meditations, and how you explained how you start with the lecture with a talk down approach, kind of approaching how we normally would in the West, and then get your body into a safe space to then process everything from the like basically taking it from top down and then taking you back down and then kind of up in a different way was really cool to put all together and understand the methodology of it, I guess.
Mhm.
And yeah, I've really enjoyed these weekends, and it's brought a lot of insight and growth in my practice, and in teaching, obviously, too.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm also sure that like going these 2 days without the phone scrolling has probably been good for all of us.
Mhm.
It is. And we also know that it's the normal. It's like, we're starting to see it, but it's the normal thing. It's what's happening out there, and it's what people are dealing with. And So when you think everybody's got their shit together, you can rest assured that we're all sort of, victims of the scroll. And also, the algorithms are programmed to feed your stuff. Like we all get different. Yeah, I don't want to say it, but yeah. And the thing is, there's never what we call perfect in anything, and no matter how hard we work, waiting for perfection, and that's just not it. This is perfect. These problems, these issues that we're working through is the perfection. It is it's how we grow. And so like just kind of flipping the script a little bit and knowing that you're not broken, so that people know that they're not broken, that we all, if when they are, if this is computer, this is like so intelligent, and they are studying you, and you are constantly being fed, of course you're going to be pulled toward those things. So is that going to be broken easily? No. But we can maybe find some nervous system reset to offset all the ill effects that is setting into us, right? So, like the realistic of it is, will we ever break that? Probably not. But can we give our reprieve to our nervous system and our bodies by doing a few time outs like this? Yeah, yeah. So that's where we start, little by little, working with it. And yeah.
And it's
Gretchen, what about
interesting you
you?
talked about the algorithm because I'm trying to change my algorithms. I like to follow people who change your nervous system. And I think this lady's name is something Coleman, Andrea Coleman. But she gets on there with the song and she'll pop up like 3 times a day and just like 30 seconds of I think her song goes like all the cells in my body are healthy, and you gotta like dance with it and then okay. Yeah, she's fun. So it's a good way to like relax the nervous system. And then I remember, oh, let me get off my phone.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I do what I have to do, but I give myself my reward is the scroll through the TikTok and listening to everything. And, it's like but it's like almost a reward. I make myself do the work first, and that's new. That's a newbie for me. And it's been really fun to watch myself kind of go from something I have to do to something, okay, I'm going to just do this. And then to something like, no, I've got to do this. It became that kind of cool habit. And it just feels really good to be able to be consistent in anything. Yeah. So that's been fun. Gretchen, what about you?
Well, of course, um, for me, it's always like the fact that we can't skip rungs on the ladder. We can't skip steps on the ladder. So that when you are activated, I think in some ways that's really helpful to know. It's like, okay, look, this is where I am now. It's not where I'm going to be forever, but I have to do things to move to the next one. And then I'll do something else to move to the next. So small conscious steps like that really speak to me in a way. So I really love that. I'm just happy to be with, you beautiful young women who have so much life ahead of you and that you can make some different choices and affect it now. Us old crusty Gen Xers, survived on hose water and bad attitudes, but you guys can do something different. So I'm always happy to present this because it forces me to think about something else. And just like Michelle says, she's been doing these little workshops as gifts to people that are helping them. It's also helping me. But it's also like, when I teach, so if something's up for me, like I said, I'm dragging y'all with me. If something's hurting, I'm going to drag my whole class with me because it pertains always to if you're not feeling it right now, you might be feeling it tomorrow. So I just I think what it does is it gives me permission to, even in this area, to see what interests me and know that that maybe will be of an interest to someone else. I'm just, like I said, I love these workshops. I want to be at every one all the time because I felt like the first round, and I don't know if you girls have felt this, but I felt the first round was like, What? There's something called complex post-traumatic stress disorder? What? I probably have that. What? You know what I mean? There were so many like ahas, like, oh, that could be me. And not, I don't know. How do you live 58 years and not know about complex trauma when you lived a complex trauma life for the majority of your childhood? Serious complex trauma. And then for me to think that, like Michelle said, that I could get to it by means of the mind, like I could somehow heal myself by means of the mind, when really it's so much simpler, like I said, simple not easy. It's simple not easy, because like what Michelle said, is like you got to keep showing up. Yeah, consistency, commitment, repetition. It just has to happen like that. That's what builds a practice. Just like our negative mindset is also like commitment, consistency, and repetition, and negative thoughts and story and victim consciousness. So how do we shift gears? And an easy way to shift gears is just to find a way to your yoga mat. Just pretty
Mm.
simple that way. And I think this workshop reminds me that firstly, I have everything I need. I have everything I need. I have everything I need to really affect my nervous system, even when it's sideways, and to not think that I'm bad or wrong because I have a nervous system that, gets jangly in certain times. And panic attacks have been a real part of my life. So, and I made myself bad or wrong for having those. And now I don't see it that way. I see it as like a signpost, a guidepost. What is it that I can do to move myself up just one ladder rung? Just one. And what is a small thing that I can do? So I don't know. I keep learning. And every time I'm here, I learn something new. And then I learn something from you guys too every time. Something like a new perspective or a new person to maybe do some research around. So I'm just grateful to you, Michelle, for allowing me to be here. And always, namo namah, umadi.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Same. I get to learn from, I'm learning so much from you guys. But if anything comes up, just let me know. But I believe you are a free kids now.
Do
You
you
get to
want
go.
us to talk about like our workshop, or just
Oh,
present?
I would be happy. Yeah.
Yeah,
If you,
okay.
I didn't know if y'all were overwhelmed.
I am gonna present. I'm gonna talk. So I don't know. I need to check the Sanskrit schedule to make sure that our weekends don't coincide. Oh, you guys.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna do a workshop, and this is its title, Michelle. And I mean, I could only take up an hour. That'd be fine. Just an hour. And we'll
If
figure
you
out
wanted to, what I
or
want y'all
less
to
or
think
more.
about, what I want y'all to think about is not just doing it here, but this is something I really want you to take beyond this. So the work that you are doing here is not for this, but we are going to have something that you have in your back pocket, and I would love to see you do something with it. So that being said, if you wanted to do it in a yoga studio, in a yoga class, then direct it in that hour and 15 time limit
Yeah.
that you would get. If you wanted to, ask some place to host this workshop for you and do it in that format, then do that. But I don't want you to have all this beautiful information and do nothing with it. So
Yeah.
what I'm saying is whatever your plan is to do with that. And so Adriana, it's like, okay, I got to, you know, I want to create something that's a presentation form to get this, and this is not going to be shared with anybody else, because that's one of those things is you put your ideas out there, then it could be out there and somebody else doing it. It's not like that. This is just us. This is the practice field for it. But I'm trying to hone your product so that you can then go out there and get it started in the community that you live in. So that being said, it's just, I really want you to know that that's a privacy thing in the group. And your ideas, like, I'm going to take very good care of that. It's not going anywhere.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I feel like, every time I present, I have another one that I could use. You know what I mean? So heart
Yeah.
rate variability was the first one that I did, and I learned a lot about that. So that's like would be a part of a workshop. And then this one, and then when I come back in June, I'm just gonna keep coming back. So I have a full, like, at least 3 or 4 that I could present with.
Yeah, and then
So
you package that as like a once a month, package, or you could do for a month, every, a 2 hour on each. It's like it could be whatever you
figure it
want
out.
it to
But
be.
that part's easy. It's like where to
But
teach it, how I can figure that stuff
uh-huh.
out with
I just
studio.
want this like real life applicable for you. And Sandy, what I would think for you is maybe you would do your daughter's sorority or something. Is she in the sorority? Did you do
No,
a
she's in
group?
a choir and, just
Well,
has.
what you can do is offer whatever group of, like, students or whatever, that you would go in and do this like 30-minute wellness something presentation. See, because you're not going to do it to your daughter directly, but you're going to like do it in a way that she has to sit through it to support you. And then she gets it like that.
See,
This has to
that's
be
what I
like
Gotta
want.
the
trick them,
pharaoh.
Sandy. Trick them.
Yeah.
It's like a feral cat. They're not gonna, but they got to go with their mom, and she's doing this cool thing for them, and you just
Mhm.
kind of do that. So we're gonna work on that and find her way in, but it's for her in mind, right?
Yeah. Or if
Something
I
like
can find her a way to watch Adriana's
that.
workshop, that would be good too.
Yeah, yeah.
But I don't
Okay.
know how to do that. I mean,
I'll
think
record.
about
She can zoom in for the time. We all know what time it is, and just tell her that there's this really cool girl that you just want it. She's going to do some stuff with college, and you think it's so cool. Oh, here, come with me. You're invited, if that's okay with Adriana. But you see how we can work this out, and we can support each other in the community by doing that. And it's really you know, let's make it something special out of this. Not where you have to show up. Okay, I'm gonna let y'all go. Enjoy your Sundays, and Gretchen, you come. We'll pound this out.
Because I have it. It's ready. It's the structural sabotage of perfectionism. That's what I'm going to present. No,
And
no.
that's the
I
best
like
thing to end it with, because that's what we were saying, like with Adriana, she was saying, this, and I see this. And the thing is, it's like there's no perfection. It's okay. Like
Ooh,
that
you learn so
is,
much.
like,
Mhm.
we're not, no, nobody has to be perfect at that. Like showing up, you said something about holding space for the class. Yeah, that's like a temporarily hold your shit together and go stand up for them. But don't expect that you're wrong because your life isn't perfect, right? It's not fake. It's just pulling my shit together and holding that space for you. And then the minute I walk out and get in my car, I can just fall back into and work my shit, like that. But just remember, it's okay. I
I
love
think it's
it.
such a great topic because I think everybody struggles with perfectionism. So,
Especially women.
yeah.
Men too, but women. Yeah, it's good. It'll be a good little workshop. We'll have fun.
Mhm. I can't wait. All right. Well,
Okay,
y'all
thank
take
y'all.
care.
Bye.
Bye.
I
Bye.